Another bit of news just on roster side was Peacemaker also dipping on Imperial, which I found interesting just because it's about to go right into the major, obviously. So like, what is Peacemaker's? Why would Peacemaker get out of this team before, months before the major is about to kick off, when this team, should have a decent chance of at least getting in, maybe halfway deep into the tournament, right?
I found it very weird myself because, first of all, to me, because I think the Last Dance lineup's fucking whack. I actually think Peacemaker's one of the best parts about this team. Like, actually, as far as I know, he is a good coach, so that's a competent piece I would want to keep. So, I put it this way, the key thing for me is this, Semmler. I'll be very shocked if it's that they're firing him and they think he's shit. Like, I don't get that at all, although, spoiler, that would be what happens in fallen teams. Other people all get fired. He keeps collecting his checks. High school girls say the same age. The fucking joke, right? Okay. So anyway, what I would say is this. I get the vibe. This would be weird, but it's either because of the disrepute of the whole ban thing, which actually isn't plausible since it got reversed, or the other angle is, if you want a crazy out there one, I've got no information on this. It's pure speculation. Maybe he's actually got a better offer. Because I'll tell you something, Semmler, as much as everyone never brings this up ever, dude, why do we always talk about Furia like they don't even have a coach? We talk about, like, Art, is Art doing well enough? Oh, how's K Serato and Yuri playing? Like, that Gary guy's been their coach forever. Like, does he never ever get any fucking scrutiny? Does he not have a performance element to his job? Does he not ever get blamed if the team never, wins a fucking trophy? Like, this squad of Furia now, by the way, the last couple of years, they've been in line. Like, they've had their chances to go to the top of the world. They just can't get it done. So that's one angle I wonder about. Like, mate, is there a world where he's going to a Furia? Has he got a better offer? I'd be interested. Because I think he is a good coach, by the way, even if he did like here's my problem with this whole scenario. He only cheated in the sense that it's against the rules, and then he also sort of publicly did that stupid tweet where he said he would never use a bug or whatever. So it makes him look like a cunt, but it's not like the biggest crime of all time. And supposedly the players claim they didn't say anything, so he didn't actually cheat the information. So it's not like it's the end of the world. So I think that's a little bit shitty, because my problem is this. I think there was a moment he got his lawyer to reverse the thing and didn't have any punishment. He tried to do that thing they do, which I'll be very careful here, Semmler. I despise when people do this in culture itself, when they're not at all innocent, but they get found not guilty by the court, and they come out like, justified, I have been redeemed. It's like, you did the crime, you motherfucker. Just because you didn't get fucking caught doesn't mean you're now innocent. Like, that's not guilty is very different from innocent. So anyway, I don't put that by the by, but I do think as a coach he's a good coach. So I think his rep actually is a bit harsh. I know people think he's been in a billion teams. He must be shit. Actually, I get the vibe he's a good coach, as far as I can tell.
You make that point, but I do, for whatever reason, a Skadoodle jumped to mind is yeah, that was a guy who didn't really make much noise when everything was blowing up around him. He stayed pretty quiet. And
that's why you never got the hit, dude. Because I've made the point, you could make the argument he should be banned like they should be, but because he's never addressed it, I think people don't get engaged with it emotionally. So he sort of skated on that, yeah.
It kind of skates, it just kind of moves on by. You don't make a big deal out of it. Don't draw attention to it, and just move on. Keep playing. Yeah. Definitely a point. We're kind of getting into. I guess
I'll just throw the obvious joke in there, though. It's called The Last Dance, you fucking cunts. Oh, hey, guys, let's all get together and have one last run. Actually, we're just going to leave you at this gas station. We're going to do the last run. It's either a last run or it's not a run. First of all, what part of last don't you understand? Secondly, it's the last run. So you know what? If you come to the org and go, by the way, we want to change players. Oh, so there's no last run then, right? Contracts are void. End the deal. It was nice working with you. Sayonara. See you in Rio. Give me a fucking break. It's not a stance. Logically, you should have to keep the same players. They're already getting rid of FNX and now they're firing their coach. Which part about last don't you understand? What part of last? What is this?
Speaking of, actually, just came out. One of apparently Fallen just confirmed that he's looking to retire in about 1.5 years. So could that be just how much time he has left on this contract? If they don't get rid of him in Imperial, that could be it. He just rides this contract out, and that is his last dance. That's it. He doesn't try to look for a new team when this is up.
He probably just needs a fucking 1.5 years more worth of checks to build out the last wing on that fucking compound he's got inside of a mountain somewhere in Brazil, in Atlanta. Or fucking him and Bolsonaro has a secret entrance. He comes in to get beers with him or something, fucking hell. Or has some guarana drink in the basement with him while they're going, Fala galera, carajo. There you go. That's actually Brazil. That was all Brazilian for you there, guys. There you go. Portuguese, you like that? No, because here's the thing that I don't get. People don't get. One, the jokes write themselves. Fallen. You've been retired for about 4 years. You just won't fucking actually stop joining the server. You can't, like, mate. People forget this. That thing where you roasted him and then we had to address him in person. That was like 2.5 years ago now. Oh, not quite 2.5. It was about over 2 though. It was in like the spring of 2020. It was the one
London. That was last London. That was the last land we had.
Backstage, if you remember, we do that thing. And I had the all-time great burn. Do you remember? When he comes in there and he tried to like address... Because here's what he did with Semmler, if people don't remember this video. He came in and he tried to sort of like alpha man of the group Semmler, right? By coming in and sort of being like, no, you can't say that about me. Like, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't know like what my businesses are and what I'm thinking about and have my passion for the game. And at the end of it all, right, I let him go the whole time because he was trying to like put... like pressure Semmler to sort of like admit he was wrong for saying like why you're practicing more, like why you're doubling down, why you're going hard. Yeah, exactly. And then the joke is, after all that, Fallen just makes this whole like impassioned case about how he is trying his hardest and they are putting the hours in and they are trying. And so at the end of it all, I just go, well, the joke's obvious then, isn't it? And why you shit? And the best thing is, Fallen looks at me for a second. Go and watch this video. You can see I characterize it perfectly. Fallen looks at me for a second, and all I can tell you guys is, if he'd had anything in that second, he would have said it. But because he didn't, he actually realized he's owned, and he has no comeback, and he just goes like, "Ha, yeah." Just says something like that, like just like takes on the chin. Yeah, well, yeah, why am I shit? Like he had nothing, he hadn't thought it through. But the reason I bring this up is because, like, mate, how many years are you going to fucking play for and just steal checks? This is egregious. Because you know what I hate about the Fallen angle? I do actually really hate this. This is what me and other people behind the scenes have known for years. Basically, ever since he got to MIBR, it's only been about money for Fallen. Once he got to that org, remember, he got Immortals Gaming Club to buy the fucking Gamers Club thing he had in Brazil. I'm sure that was millions of dollars. He has a merch deal with Valve. He has connections to the fucking president of Brazil now. This guy is making a business empire. He's going to be a mogul when he fucking leaves the playing side of the game. I'm fine with that. Look, take care of your paper, set yourself up. But this is what I hate, Semmler. If people don't know, Fallen is a legend. He is one of the all-time great players. He is a player who had a massive impact. But I just don't like the idea that what he did was he did all these brilliant things. He did all these great things, building up the scene, building up Brazil. And then at the end, he took Brazil like a fucking lemon and just squeezed all the fucking juice out on the way out and then just left it like a withered husk and then, see ya, I'm off, guys, bye. Like, that's fucking whack, dude. Like, at the end of the day, if you wanted to do all this business stuff, you could have been a coach and do this. You could be the guy who owns the team. This could be Fallen Gaming team that you could have... Well, the joke there is he wouldn't waste millions of his own fucking money on CSGO players, would he? He'd only waste someone else's. So I just find that part whack because I do think, essentially, he's sort of tanked his career reputation. Makes him also look silly on the way out. Like, this last project won't be remembered fondly. It'll be a meme, which is sad. When you're a great player, it shouldn't go out like that.
That it just kind of burns down. Like, live long enough to see yourself become the villain in the end.
He has. He really has, hasn't he?
Meme. You just keep leaning into
the craziest angle, Semmler, because we've brought it on this show a million times, but it's true. The whole premise when they first came through, those Brazilians, is they were our shining example to the NA pros. Like, this is how you have to be about the game. You have to be pro. You have to grind. You have to work to be the best. So the problem is the idea, exactly the people we were holding up as the example later became the worst example of the people who just phone it in for a check and don't give a fuck and just abuse like a massive name. Like, that's just tragic. Because again, like, what we're supposed to say to the kid we were pointing to, like, yeah, be like him 10 years later. Not so much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's supposed to be your hero, your role model.
Is that just the issue with living in NA or being in the NA culture, right? It just bleeds into them. The fact that they were living in LA for years and it's just like, you just couldn't resist in the end. You just eventually become that which you, what you sought to be. I mean, to be fair, they did live in a house together. They did do everything they could to make.
This story before, and sadly, it's a really sad story, Semmler. So I'd maybe even say we should segue this, actually, maybe do like a greater point about life and priorities and what's valuable in life. Because here's the sad thing. I remember once I had a very famous Brazilian CSGO player explain to me the Henny Lucas 1 situation. Because I remember saying to him, like what we've all said, like, why do they always just leave all these teams? Why do they have to play together? Like, why when one's bad, does the other one have to go and join him? Why when they're in a team that's doing well, why do they break it up or make it? And what they told me was this, mate. They basically said, this pro player said, you have to understand, for players like that, they've already made it. It's not about winning the major. It's not about winning champions. Said you have to understand they literally come from who knows where in Brazil. They're making thousands a month. They're like micro celebrities. They have all the girls. Look, they all have on their Instagram. They all have a nice car. They're in the clubs. They live a pretty nice life. They have a nice legit apartment, cool girlfriend. Like basically to them, they're already living their perfect life. Now, the problem is, to me, or you or me, that's not our, like, we want to accomplish something in life or to embody something or to aspire to something. It's more than money, I would hope. So, sadly, I actually get the vibe for some of the other Brazilian players. I think they're also in a similar vein. Because what I've noticed about the superstar Brazilian names the last few years, they try and make good teams, but their priority is clearly the big salary. If you look at, like, sort of where they get navigated to in the scene, they're never taking the pay cut to go and join, like, a half-decent team. They're always like, I start my new project of this guy, and I get 15,000 a month or whatever. They all find a way to the money, I've noticed.
Yeah, that's a fair point, though. I mean, considering like culture, it could be. Do you think it would be the same thing coming from the CIS region then? Because I mean, that's the obvious other region that, you know, you start making money and it goes a long way over there where the average salary is like $500 a month.
I mean, in their scene, it seems a bit weird in the sense that it's almost like you belong to the team you join in CIS. Because in CIS, they grind like motherfuckers. Like they do put all those hours in. So I don't know. It's a bit of that maybe.
They don't actually ever stop either. I mean, to be fair, they probably spend quite a bit more time. No, that's unfair though, because I mean, it really is just like the top 1% of like the Brazilian scene that make the big bucks, and after that, it probably is a pretty steep drop off. Same way that it's going to be the same thing in the CIS region, where you know it's like if you're on Navi, obviously you're probably making mega bucks, but if you're not, then the drop off is going to be pretty steep.
Oh, I can tell you that was one of the things that caused the problems with those players who were the no plano people who were going to re-sign with MIBR, and they left and tried to make their own team, which became 0-0 Nation, but they're all gone now. They all got fired.
KNG and all that.
No, the problem they had was exactly that, Semmler. Because they had KNG was used to the old royalty salaries. He was used to getting like your 28k a month or whatever. So this guy stupidly thought, Semmler, that they all should be on that money. He thought people like that Leo Drunky guy, like that he can get like 25k a month. So as a result, when they got offered what actually was a mad reasonable, if you know how small some of those players are, 10k a month, they were like, they turned their nose up at it. And as I've told people on this show, the joke is all plano was no plano. And when they actually got an org in the end, they lost all that money and they're all fucking fired and benched. Like, that was one of the dumbest moves of all time. I'll do a video on that one day because I think it's one of the craziest like misplayers I've ever seen. But what it shows you is what you're saying though, Semmler. People don't realise there is a class of Brazilian player who's been at the top who can make loads of money. The others, you're a budget player if you come in. Like, if I had to guess, I'll bet the MIBI players now are on way less. I mean, they're all relative nobodies or people who...
Without a doubt, maybe a couple grand. Like, they're probably getting like 3 or 4 grand a month.
They'll be in the next team.
But to be fair, it's like, well, no, to be fair, they're not living in Brazil right now. If they're on the MIBR side of things, they're probably in LA or something like that. Right. But even, I mean, costs get covered and all that. That's still reasonable. I feel like we could talk about this all day long, though. So good.